speaking of old school antitrust, Google wants Apple to have their AI be the default on Apple devices. It's amazing because Google literally just lost a case where they were doing this with their search.
Well, they haven't lost the case yet. They're in the middle of an antitrust trial right now that is going to resume in May with the federal government, with the Department of Justice, over making exclusive deals with companies like Apple to embed Google as the search engine, the default search engine on your mobile device or on your browser. And so now they're in talks. They haven't done anything yet, but they're in talks for another exclusive deal with Apple to use their Gemini AI technology in these iPhones. This is like you robbed a bank, you're awaiting trial, and you go back and rob the same bank. That's what this is like.
Well, do you think they're just doing this just to try and overwhelm the Department of Justice? I mean, why would they make this public? Why would you even know about this? Why wouldn't these be super secret talks?
I'm sure it wasn't their intention to make it public, right? They didn't come out. Bloomberg reported this because they got word of it. Apple's perspective is they need to move. Apple is falling behind in the AI race. Google has already put this technology on Google Pixel phones, Samsung phones. They need to catch up. So Apple's perspective is very clear. The question is why Google would do this when they're already under legal scrutiny for the same practices. And here you have to think about the fact that you might be aware that we have a presidential election in 8 months.
I've heard things.
If the current front runner in that election, the current even money favorite, wins, right, the enforcement picture will look a fair bit different than it does now. And this, by the way, is what happened in the Microsoft case. In the late 90s, the Clinton administration pursued the Microsoft trial. They got a favorable judgment. And then there was turnover, and George W. Bush's Justice Department came in, put together a very weak settlement with Microsoft. And you could see the same thing happen here. This case that I'm talking about, the Google search case, it's not going to be done by the time of the 2024 election. So if there is a change in power, it's going to be Trump's Justice Department. If that comes to pass, maybe that's the least thing we should worry about is the Google trial verdict, the implications of that. But that's what's going to happen. They would be the ones adjudicating what ends up ultimately happening. They move to a settlement or whatever. And so I think not just Google, but a lot of companies are looking at this and saying, hey, we don't like Lena Khan, we don't like Jonathan Cantor, but we might not have to deal with them come January 2025. And so maybe we start up those talks again with to merge with this company or these partnerships or whatever it is, because we think that the regulatory environment is going to get a lot sweeter for us.
Right. When Trump gets into office, he's going to basically say, enough with this antitrust stuff. We need to go back to prosecuting brown people full time in the Department of Justice.
Maybe he will, maybe he won't. But what we know from what we saw last week with the TikTok thing is that Trump is one bribe away from completely changing whatever view he has and going with the views of the individual or company that bribed him. And so Google has a path, just like any company has a path, to get Trump on their good side. And they know exactly how to do it.
I want to thank Google for floating the bond for that I couldn't.
Right.
Exactly. Well, David Dayen, always a pleasure. I will watch your American Prospect Roundup after the fact, of course, because we're doing the show.
David, there were easier ways for you to get out of your Friday appearances with us and start a whole new show.
Because you have so much money you could start an AI bot to do your Friday show.
Oh,
and
believe
then
me, I'm looking
participate
into
in
that.
our-
I'm looking into that right now. Believe me. For all you know, this is a program right now.
I have no idea. I really don't.
See?
Yeah.
There you go.
I've seen a couple glitches.
You froze right now.
The AI was shadow banning
exactly.
you.
You're not allowed to reveal. That's your primary function, and it will shut you down.
How many fingers do you have on your hand there, Sam?
You're right.
All right, David Dayen. Always pleasure. Thanks so much.
Thanks a lot.